Hey everyone, you are listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am your host, Jay Scherr, and I am super excited. We've got a fantastic show for you today. First and foremost, Happy New Year, my friends.
Happy New Year.
And as we step into 2026, one thing is clear. The business landscape is changing faster than ever. Markets are shifting. Technology is disrupting. Consumer expectations are evolving. And the stories shaping our economy are being written in real time. Well, today we're taking a deep dive into what you need to know to navigate the year ahead. And to help us break it all down, I've invited three rock stars here who are really on the front lines of business every single day. They see the trends early, they study the data, they talk to decision makers, and they're here to help all of us make sense of where things are headed. Real talk, no fluff. So please welcome my special guests, Kim Fitzgerald with Curly Tail Design, Brian McMillan with The Observer.
Hello there.
And Kirk Keller with Flagler Broadcasting.
That's me.
That's him. All right, so now you know what we're going to be talking about. So I figured just to kind of kick things off, I'd love to hear each of your perspectives on what you think the biggest, let's say, economic storyline business owners should be paying attention to as we head into 2026. Look in your crystal ball, and what do you think that headline or what they should be paying attention to? So let me start with Kim right next to me. What do you think?
The main thing, probably with most businesses, you have to start embracing technology and the AI. You cannot fight it. You need to learn it. It's kind of a scary mystery situation, so embracing it. But also remembering that you also have to have the warm and fuzzy side of your business with your service, your calling your customer after you've done. I mean, a robot and a automated thing is not going to do that. So there's a fine line between the technology and keeping the warm and fuzzy in your business.
Okay, so we'll kind of summarize that and say embracing technology, right?
Pretty much,
maximizing it. Okay, let's go over to Brian McMillan.
Interesting. So I guess I would say that kind of piggybacking off that is the personal touch. I think that people are kind of looking for ways to. Let me give one example. Is I just read this article about how a professor was bringing her writing class abroad, and the whole rule was unplug and stop using your phone. And the amount of productivity that they had was just phenomenal. Like, people were writing way more than they used to, and they didn't realize like they were actually how much they were getting distracted before. And so I thought that's been on my mind a lot lately. I don't know if that's like necessarily a big trend, but I do think that the younger generation is seeing some of voluntarily trying to limit their own, like they recognize that they're doom scrolling, just like, probably more than the older generation does. We think the younger generation's doom scrolling. Well, so are we. And realizing that there's some motivation to try to like change, and that's a way to improve their quality of life. That's something that's been on my mind. I'm not sure if that's like necessarily a business trend that I see in, playing out, but that's first thing came to mind to me.
That's an interesting one. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Keller.
I'm going to agree with Brian and Kim both. Brian, you hit it right on the nail. People need to get off these things, and boom, 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 boom. I always say we're a headline society because we see the headline, and the headline's supposed to be a teaser, but half the time people are writing almost the entire story in that headline, but it doesn't tell the whole story. In fact, I just read an article about a Home Depot warehouse that's shutting down, and all these people are losing their jobs. And it was paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, and then there was one sentence about, oh, by the way, they're moving to this location, to a new location. But so the writer just was trying to make it look like the administration today is hurting the economy. So I think we need to stop reading national headlines. We need to stop reading national news that doesn't affect us. I belong to the local Flagler Beach Business Bureau. I belong to the no, yeah, the local Flagler Beach Business Bureau. I belong to the Home Builders Association. I belong to the chamber, and I love those because they're networking, and you can talk about how their business is doing, whether it's up and down. Most people don't share numbers. The Business Bureau is very good at sharing numbers, in percentages, and I think that's the trends we need to watch. We need to watch what our fellow businesses are doing and embrace them. They're competition, but then again, they're not competition. I think that's the friendly approach we need to make. And I think our young people today think if I open up a bread store, the bread store down the street is going to be my enemy. It shouldn't be that way at all. You need to find your niche, and that bread store down the street could be your friend. And I hear, especially on Flagler Beach, but I live there and I go to a lot of the restaurants there. I hear them talking about all the time. They're sharing ingredients because they ran out of this and they can't get a food truck for another 2 days. I love that. I love that we have that interaction. And I think we just need to stop with the electronic media. On your reference, Kim, to AI, big believer in AI. I have several employees here at the radio station that use AI on a regular basis. However, you got to remember someone's programming that AI to swing that way or swing that way. So that's what you got to be cautious about. And so I always recommend when you're asking questions of AI, try to use different AI platforms to see what the answer is. And you can usually see how it's been programmed.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I just want to speak to one thing, Kirk, that you said, and then I'll bolt on to a couple of things that were mentioned here. So in terms of, let's just say, networking and being around other business leaders, I think it's also always important to know who you need to be in proximity to. Right. So there's a lot of opportunities to network. If you wanted to, you could network multiple times every single day of the week. But something that, Brian had touched on, and that's time, right? Unplugging sometimes and knowing the value of time, right? So being in proximity of the people you need to be in front of, using your time effectively, and then also balancing the information that you hear. So you go to different groups, different business owners that you're in front of. Don't just take one data point and decide that is the reality, right? Balance that information. Tell me more. Tell me where that information came from. Why do you have that perspective, so on and so forth, so you can talk to other people and come up with your own decisions on what you should be doing, your own decisions on what's happening with the economy and how you can hopefully navigate through this successfully and as profitably as possible. On the AI front, Kim, I would wholeheartedly agree with you on that we absolutely need to embrace it. And there's so many different ways that we can use new technologies today in our businesses. And I think what we're seeing right now is that so many people who are starting to use AI, whether it's ChatGPT or any of the others, they're using it for this is what I see. They're using it for creating Facebook posts or for creating emails or for helping them maybe in some sort of communication in their business or in their personal life. And that's a great starting point. But the reality is it is so robust. And I would just encourage people, and we're not going to go into that in detail today, but I would encourage people to look into ways of using AI as a thought partner. Use it as a way to ask you more important questions.
An idea starter.
An idea starter, right? So kind of take a look at your own business as an example. Put as much information you can into your generative AI platform and analyze this. Come back to me with 10 questions or 5 questions that I should be thinking about. And then, really start to use that as a way to help you get more clarity and process information more effectively for yourself. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I always use it as a guide and to spark creativity.
Okay. Excellent. Very good. All right. So are you seeing more optimism right now through the conversations you're having with different business leaders in this community, or more caution? And if so, what are you hearing and why? So I'm just going to throw it up in the air. I tell you what, let's start with Kirk, and then we'll move down the line here.
So I think 2025 was the year of being cautious. We had a president that a lot of people think was volatile, has great policies, but they didn't know what he was going to do next. So everybody was being very cautious. And I don't know about Kim and Brian, but I know in our business, we saw a lot of clients going from placing a 3-month order to a month-by-month order, or a 6-month order to a 3-month. They wanted to be more cautious because they didn't know what was going to happen next. I think everybody in this room probably didn't know what was going to happen with tariffs, and we still don't know what's going to happen with a lot of the tariffs. So a lot of people in 2025 were being very cautious. The people I talked to, their business was still doing good, even though they were doing month to month to month, but they were still being cautious because they didn't know what's going to happen next. I think with all the good things that's been coming out of the administration, the good reports on the economy, the stock market, the gold prices, even cryptocurrency, I think all that stuff is making 2026 a very positive and optimistic year.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that perspective. Let's go to Kim. Thoughts on that?
Probably a little of both. Cautious. Just as my business example, I have to compete against the world as far as my products. Services now are being gobbled up by AI. So you have to be cautious. You have to pivot to find the niche to continue. I mean, I have to turn mine into extraordinary service, and you can talk to a human being, and you're not talking to Amazon. Or if something's wrong, you call me at 10 o'clock at night. I'll fix it. Good luck doing that on Amazon. So convincing the consumer that you were here for them face to face, a human being. The positives, the technology is helping people. I like that. People are starting to realize that they need to hook up with the cause marketing. I really, my heart's towards that. Like, I've hooked up with Smart Dog, hooking up with a charity. It's warm and fuzzy, and it's really a great marketing thing. And then also tying with like-minded businesses that complement your business is very good with the marketing efforts. So I've been here for a long time, and I've seen the ups and downs. And unfortunately, Flagler is always mostly tied to real estate. And when real estate is great, we're rocking and rolling. And when it goes down, this is like the third time this has happened in my lifetime here. So I would love to see more professional, huge corporations, not huge, but corporations for professional people come in. So when that real estate does do a little up and down, that we're not like, freaking out.
Can I jump in here on your comment about hooking up with the charity? Yes, that's very wise to do. It's a good warm and fuzzy. But so many businesses will hook up with the charity thinking, oh, I get free advertising now. You do not. I'll tell you right now, you do not. FCC deregulated in 1998. So radio stations, I know newspaper, that's really up to you, Brian. Doesn't mean you're going to get free advertising. So don't do it just to get the free advertising, because it doesn't work that way.
That's a good point. All right, let's go over to Brian. So optimistic or cautious? What are you hearing from those that you're around and that you're talking to?
Well, to me, it's more cautious. I mean, I called a few businesses in Ormond Beach because of a different role that I'm in there, and was just asking, like, how are things going with you? And I talked to two retail businesses that were saying that things were very slow. They were nervous, and when people were buying, they were buying lower ticket items. And I've seen other national headlines that are similar to that. So I do think that, there's a reason that affordability has become the buzzword in politics. And it's because people are feeling the crunch. And that means disposable income is is a lot more hard to come by. And so, I mean, if you're asking me on my crystal ball, I think that is probably going to continue and might get a little bit worse.
Okay. Some really good points here that are shared. So I'm just going to make one point on something, Kirk, that you said about advertisers as an example, and some clients who are advertising with radio, right? And maybe maybe they're only advertising for a month or want to try to pull back as much as they can. My only comment on that is, when it comes to marketing your business, remember this: we're playing the long game here. And although it may be painful to invest in marketing for the long game, if you're not willing to commit and if you're not willing to make that investment and you're looking for a quick return over a 30-day period, in what I've seen, I think that's a very short-sighted way of looking at your business, because you have to give marketing time. You have to test it, right? A/B testing. You have to give it an opportunity to gel and to germinate and to start to see results. So looking for overnight successes, that just doesn't happen on a daily basis. So be prepared to invest and play the long game. Real quick, and then we need to take a break.
Yeah, just added one thing in there. In a time when everybody's doing their marketing and there's 10 different businesses that are competing with you, when things start to go south and people start pulling their marketing, that's actually an opportunity that you could now be one of only 2 or 3 that are remaining that are doing your marketing. And now, like, your share becomes a lot bigger. So there is opportunity, anytime something bad happens.
That's a fantastic point. Thank you for sharing that. All right, my friends, we are going to take a brief break here to thank our amazing sponsors. My friends, you are listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat. Don't you go anywhere. We will be right back. All right, we're back. And again, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am in the studio today with just some incredible guests here. I've got Kirk Keller with Flagler Broadcasting. I've got Brian McMillan with The Observer. I've got Kim Fitzgerald with Curly Tail Design. And we are talking all about business. We're talking about the outlook for 2026. We're talking about the economy and the things that are affecting business growth and marketing, and just an incredible array of topics here. So we're going to keep the conversation going. But before we took the break, we were talking a little bit about marketing spend and some clients investing like in radio spots and things like that. And Kurt, I think you were getting ready to make a point that you didn't get a chance to make. So why don't we pick that up for a moment and see what you wanted to share there?
I was just going to say, in layman's terms, in reference to the longevity and length, and especially with radio stations, we have to reserve the time in advance, because we only do 12 commercial units an hour. So we have to reserve it in advance. And lots of times we're sold out, like Kicks this week is sold out. So the way we try to explain it in layman's terms is a bag of popcorn in the microwave. It says do it for 2.5 minutes. If you do popcorn for a minute, what happens? You get a crappy bag of popcorn. If you go through the full fruition of the popcorn popping, you usually get a great bag of popcorn. And that's basically how marketing works. We usually like to start with 13 weeks. I think, Brian, you guys also do the 13 weeks. Mm-hmm. I know it's a little different with digital marketing, Kim, because a lot of digital marketing wants a post every day. So I'm not sure how you guys propose that. But I think everybody in this room is an expert at what they do. And it kills me when I have someone that cooks for a living trying to tell me how to do advertising. But it happens all the time. So we always have to educate them. And that's why I say we need to, in 2026, we need to be more open-minded. I mean, we have 7 radio stations, but I advertise in the Observer. We have 7 radio stations, and I use Kim Fitzgerald's services all the time.
So let's expand on that piece of the conversation for a moment. So as we are thinking about the business outlook for 2026, and I'm a business owner myself, everyone in this room is also. So as business owners, what should we be thinking about in terms of marketing spend and marketing our businesses? What should we be doing differently than what we did in 2025? And if we didn't feel like we had the results that we were hoping for in 2025, what would be maybe 1 or 2 suggestions that each of you would have for someone listening to this right now who realizes that, look, I've only got a certain budget. I want to maximize that to the best of my ability. What should I be focused on? So, Brian, I'd like to start with you. What should we be doing differently in 2026?
Well, 2 things come to mind. One is that if you're doing marketing on the radio, or even buying Facebook ads or in the Observer, you know that you're getting a certain audience and that people are seeing what you're promoting. And if you're not getting results that you wish that you had from that, I think some people want to blame, well, Facebook ads don't work. Well, of course they work. I mean, a lot of big businesses are spending a lot of money on Facebook ads because they do work. But what a lot of times people aren't willing to admit is that what they're putting in their ads is not strong enough. It's not a good enough offer. It's not entertaining. And so you have to sometimes, if you're not getting the results you want, you have to change the content of what you're putting in your ads. And that takes sometimes a lot of creativity. You may need to hire somebody to help you do that. But don't blame the radio or don't blame the newspaper or Google ads or anything else. You got to look in and say, what can I do differently in my messaging? And the second is kind of a corollary to that, and that is to be bold, be aggressive with the offers that you're trying to make. If you want the needle to move, then you got to do something that's going to get people excited to get off the couch. And so that's not 5% off. That's what can you do that's going to say, wow, that's a deal I have to take. Sometimes it's a loss leader. It's like, what is my Costco hot dog that I have that I can do? Costco loses money on their hot dogs, but some people say, oh yeah, I'll go buy there. And then they're shopping more. What's a loss leader that you're willing to do that doesn't cost you maybe as much as, maybe the price is, maybe there's a way you can do that. And it's something that's going to get people off the couch, because there probably is something like that in most businesses. And I think you just got to be sometimes more aggressive to get the results.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Kim, thoughts on that?
I'm going to go back to the tech and then the warm and fuzzy. The tech, Google reviews are just so very important, and they don't cost you anything. You just have to put a little effort in with your customers. That's what I tell. Just Google reviews. It's free. Do that. Make sure your website's up to par. Make sure you're posting appropriate content that's interesting. Your email list, your database, that's golden. Keep using that. And then the warm and fuzzy, tie up with something you love, the charities, whatever you like.
Let me ask you something on the Facebook posts. If your posts, if your content is not landing, if it's not resonating with the audience that you want to connect with, what do you suggest they do? You're a highly creative person. So what would be the first thing you would do with a customer who just is not getting traction with their ads?
The first thing I always think of, I'm a human being and I look at Facebook posts. What rings my bell? And then I kind of turn that around and say, who is the customer? Now what would ring their bell? And then I'm going to go back. I know it's not creative, but AI is your friend on this. Use it as a guide.
Okay.
You ask AI, here's my customer, here's what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm trying to see, sell, whatever. It'll give you can tell it to give you 50 ideas. Use it as a guide. But I'm out there. I like to not be normal, so think outside the box. To get attention, you have to stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very crowded space out there, and if you're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing and you weren't the first one out there doing it, it can become white noise very quickly.
And imagine if it went viral.
True.
Hello?
Yeah, very true. Kirk, thoughts on this?
I think 2026 businesses need to stop testing Brian. They need to stop testing Kim. They need to stop testing the radio stations. And the reason I say that, there's really no proven, there's proven ways out there, but I speak at a lot of groups, as you all know. Mm-hmm. And one of my first questions I usually ask is, raise your hands if you went to McDonald's this week. Raise your hand if you went to Lowe's this week. All right. When you went through the checkout line, when you went through the drive-through, did you say, oh, I heard your ad on the radio, that's why I'm here? You did not. I guarantee you did not. And so stop doing that through the local businesses, or the local businesses need to stop thinking that, did you see my ad in the Observer? Let me know where you saw. Because half the time we don't know where we saw it. It's just that impression. And I'm a big believer in using all methods. We have billboards, we use Kim, and we use the Observer. I say use everything to what you can afford, but stop trying to test and see which one does the best. Second, they need to match. Don't put toothpaste in Brian's paper and put mouthwash in mine and see which one outsells. It doesn't work that way. Or don't do toothpaste with Kim and hairbrushes with me. Stop trying to see which one you're outselling. If you'll make it match, you'll get a much better marketing approach across the board.
Yeah, all really good points. So some consistency there. So I'm going to share a little perspective here that I didn't necessarily hear mentioned, but I think it's important to bring up. And I know that each of you sitting here know this for sure. But when it comes to your own business, it is important first to know who your ideal customer is, right? Who is the person that you're trying to attract? What are their likes, their dislikes, personality types? Really understand their profile. Where are they hanging out? What do they read? What are they consuming? Because when you know that information, now you know how to attract them, how to structure your content. Another thing that I would highly recommend that people do, if you have customers today, talk to them. Sit down with them and find out, why are you doing business with me versus doing business with somebody else down the street? You've got some key differentiators that separate you from everybody else. I can tell you, in my line of work, business coaching as well as podcasting, there's tons of people who claim to be business coaches. There's tons of people that offer podcasts. What makes you different? And then use that along with what your customers are telling you, why they want to work with you. Use that as part of your content. And also understand that not everyone is meant to be your customer. You will spend money to the ends of the earth if you're not careful trying to attract people into your business who you were never meant to do business with anyway. So know who you want to work with. Know what you're capable of providing to those customers, and then get after it. All right. So in our remaining time here, I would love to hear just a piece of feedback from the three of you on the biggest goal that you have for yourselves, for your own businesses or for yourselves personally. What are you working on in 2026? And keep it very brief and succinct. So, Kim, we're going to start with you. Biggest goal.
Finding a new niche so I can fight against the AI takeover of the world.
Very good. So, Kim, new niche for you, looking at a different business model. Very good. Kirk Keller.
I'm going to go with Kim, know more about technology. I've always thought I was pretty high tech myself, but I have not stuck my toes in the water of AI yet. And I need to. I need to know more about AI because I get asked about it every day. So my goal is to know more about artificial intelligence.
Okay, very good. That's Kirk's. All right, let's go to Brian. Brian, big goal.
The big goal, the emphasis for me is to figure out how to add more value to what we're doing without adding to the price.
Ooh, okay. Very good. Can't wait to hear more about that one.
What about you, Jake?
Thank you for asking. So for me, it is about deeper connections. So not necessarily about expanding my current circle, but the connections that I do have, really deepening those and being more intentional about that, listening more, asking better questions. So 2026 for Jay is a year of connection. All right. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today on Business Minds Coffee Chat.
Thank you.
You guys are amazing. I wish all of you a very happy new year. And I want to thank each and every one of you for listening, for watching Business Minds Coffee Chat. And remember, we will be back next Saturday morning at 8:30. And until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep doing the work to reach your potential. Take care, everybody.